I like the idea of this innovative technology.
Yeah.
But have you any sort of trials to prove that it is actually better?
Richard, yes we do. Have you heard of Stockbridge Technology Centre at Cawood?
I have, yes.
Okay. Though we chose those guys because one reason, they're quite local to where we're based here, or certainly where I'm based, but also they are completely independent as an organisation. So obviously, you know, you ask them to look at your product, and they get paid the same, whether it's a negative result or a positive result. Quite a lot of organisations tend to do in-house testing. You know,
that's what we need to know, because I don't like seeing in adverts and things that you say that these trials have done better, but then when you look at the bottom, they've picked you know, there might have been 20 trials and 17 haven't worked.
Exactly.
They picked the 3 that have.
No, that's right.
So that's what we want, independent stuff.
Exactly right. So last spring we did a 4-rep small plot trial with STC on spring barley.
Yeah.
And over there they've got, you know, very highly manganese deficient soils. I mean, normally, Richard, you'll know that if you're going to test for manganese, you need to stress it out. So you go to obviously on barley, which, you know, can show it quite badly anyway, and then on land that really always needs quite multiple applications normally on cereals. There were 2 things we wanted to look at. Manganese alloy is the main differentiating point that we make against the other manganese 500s, is that it is basically a manganese carbonate product. It does have some advantages, as on the previous video you saw about stability and rinsability, right? But the main difference with the alloy technology is that in addition to the manganese carbonate, we've put some manganese nitrate in it, which, as you know, greens up a crop very quickly, as does sulfate. The question was, can you have almost the best of both worlds? Have all the stability and high manganese loading of an SC, but have the rapid green up of a nitrate. So we tested that, where they basically let all the plots go very, very yellow. So that was your starting point. Then they made 3 applications over the course of, you know, every week to 10 days they put on another application. They were testing manganese sulfate, so your 15%, 150 grams per litre solution. They were testing a leading manganese 500 carbonate, and they tested manganese alloy. And the alloy was tested at full rate and at 2/3 the rate. So they only put on 2 applications instead of 3 in one of the treatments. Also important to say that, you know, there is variation obviously in manganese content, so they adjusted everything to make sure that per hectare everything was getting the same manganese. All right. Now, even though last year was a bit, you'll remember, different. I mean, it was very dry in the spring, extreme, and then some quite, actually during sort of late May there was quite heavy rain at periods, so it was a bit abnormal. So it wasn't perhaps the best way to test some of the aspects, but the results came through start of this month, and they showed that, firstly, the manganese alloy statistically greened up the crop as fast as the manganese sulfate. So that was very important, because that was our first objective. Okay. They also did vigour assessments, and they showed that the manganese alloy was statistically more vigorous. You know, they're independent, and I think this is where this comes really into play. They do a vigour assay across the treatment reps, and the manganese alloy treated plants were statistically more vigorous than the leading manganese carbonate, which was another important. But perhaps the best thing, and the thing we're most excited about, was that in the end all the treatments had statistically the same yield increase over the control, all right, including the treatment where manganese alloy only applied 2/3 of the manganese. So, put it another way, you could extrapolate that to being 33% more efficient than both the leading manganese carbonate in the market and also, interestingly enough, against sulfate. So that way, you know, we're going to start to be able to, with confidence, start to say to growers, look, you can get away with maybe an application less compared to another manganese carbonate. You could also say those are just my words, but earlier today we were on farm, and it's on a separate video clip which is available on the site, and a grower actually said that and was supported by the AgriVista regional agronomist, that in their opinion the efficacy is such that you could actually get away with one application less, certainly in the land where they've sprayed manganese alloy back in autumn, and it's still so green now they don't feel they need to spray it again. Yeah. So it's some very exciting data back.
Good.
Now, another thing I wanted to say to you, Richard, was, I mean, we showed you this earlier, didn't you?
Yes.
The fact that in the can when it arrives, it's actually formed a mousse, which is important that people understand. That's where a lot of the stability comes from, and in a separate clip we shot with you, you helped us open a 38-month-old pack. Yes. So, you know, stability is certainly a strength. Yes. Also, I think you noticed that with a casual flick, obviously 5 litres, but just a normal shake, you can break that mousse quite easily, and then it becomes a very fluid product. Yes. Do you think that it would be usable from its mousse form in an IBC? I do have an answer, by the way.
Well, it depends if you could give it that flick. I mean, if you can lift
giving it a flick is obviously, I mean, I know they're strong around here, aren't they, Richard?
But I don't think you'd lift an IBC.
An IBC of this product weighs 1.3 tons, so it's
need a forklift to flick it then.
You maybe bounce the forklift, which I know people maybe consider. What we actually did in another test, Richard, was our chemist was sure that if you had the IBC that was completely moussed up, you threw a pipe into the middle of it, you just had a small electric pump, that the localised suction of that pump would be sufficient to break that mousse. Yeah. We actually demonstrated it on farm with a very important AgriVista customer 3 or 4 weeks ago, and they were very, very impressed and very happy with it, because it opens up a whole new level of, certainly with bigger farms.
Of course, yeah.
You know, now that also led on to other areas that you can use it for the manganese, but also, for instance, bitter salts. What's your opinion of bitter salts and handling it on farm?
I hate it.
Yeah.
If I can use a flowable magnesium, I'll use a flowable magnesium, because it can just increase your filling up time immensely by having to pre-mix it and sucking it in. And I mean, our water here is very hard, which makes it difficult to mix as well. So I would be, if that was the case with, you know, something like this, it would be ideal.
Again, that particular AgriVista customer is now going to take magnesium alloy. You've been looking at manganese alloy, but he's going to take magnesium alloy in IBCs because he can pump it out on farm. We actually have even improved it further. You know, the tap on the front of an IBC? We're going to replace that with a sort of hose lock attachment, so you can just put the pipe on and pump it straight through the valve.
I see.
All right, so you can put it up on racking even. Yeah. So that way, you know, that comes from this sort of viscology type structure that breaks easily, is allowing people to use SCs in a whole different way. If you add on to that the fact that the magnesium alloy has magnesium nitrate in it, just like your manganese has manganese nitrate in it, you can, you know, get that magnesium into your crop just as fast as your bitter salts will do.
Right.
Okay. The only other thing I'd like to make you aware of is that really this year it's the manganese alloy and the magnesium alloy, but we are also making available a sulphur alloy, which has 800 grams per litre sulphur, 100 grams of which is in the form of sulphate, so it's immediately available. The rest of it is elemental, so it gives you this longer term. Comes in the same structure, and also almost as a freebie, it has 87 grams per litre manganese in it. So in a way, you put on a fair amount of sulphur in an application, you're giving almost a half-strength manganese application as well. The other one is a manganese copper zinc alloy.
Right.
A lot of growers, I don't know about yourself, but a lot of growers prefer to have a blend.
Yes.
And sort of kill a number of birds with one stone.
Yes.
So we know blends are important, and we're launching that as well with the same, as I say, structure benefits and rapid uptake benefits. So
well, as a user, anything that makes it easier to mix either within the tank or adding it to the tank is a big bonus.
Excellent. Thank you, Richard.
It's all right.